What's happening, guys? Um, Tried to get another maiden today. Had, I think, 20 successful maidens the last year on the first try. I might have had one. I had some snag. I don't know though. Seemed like they were all went, but this one didn't go. New plane, new engine, new ignition, no spark. So I checked at the field with a voltmeter, was getting no spark. So came home to see, what else it could be, and tested the ignition in the same method, which is remove both plugs and put one plug in a cap, make sure the cap is grounded to the motor, and then flip the prop. And it got no spark, no click, no visible spark. And I go, well, that's good because now I know what it is, so it's not a mystery, and I could just change it. So I was happy. I told the guys in the field, I hope when I test it, it's failed because that makes the whole thing simpler. And probably everybody knows all this stuff and everybody knows how to do all this stuff. But I thought since I did say, I'd just show you. And then here's the one I changed. This is a spare. And like I said, I got both plugs out. And like I said, you can use a tester. And there's the spare now mounted where the new factory one was mounted. Let's see. Get a pretty good focus, and I'll try using my hand over the top here. Yeah, you can see that. So you can hear it and you can see it. So that's a test. If you ever need to test and you don't already know this, you probably already do. But yeah, so now I swapped that ignition out for one of my spare ignitions. Now I got spark, so should be able to, let's turn that spark off. Should be able to get the maiden up on this thing tomorrow now. Yeah, GP123s 10 years ago, and now, and even all these ignitions, GP ignitions for me have been bulletproof, amazing. Joe Lewis service is amazing too. So yeah, stoked on these motors and these ignitions and the service. I still run mine at 6.6 volts, which comes through at 6.7 on the voltmeter on all my GPs. I was doing that 10 years ago because that's what the limit was on the Tech Aero Ibex, and they did beautifully, and so I'm still doing it, and they still go beautifully. I never had a kickback or anything like some of the stories you hear about. Joe Lewis, he likes the 6.6, which is actually 6.7. Thinks just, there's a manufacturer's approved range, which is 6.6 to 8.0, and he just thinks that's since being on the lower end of that, less likely for the ignition to get hot. More voltage, more heat. I haven't had any trouble regardless, but the 6.6 always has worked, so I'm totally down with the 6.6 setting on the Tech Aeros. Works for me on multiple motors, so yeah, I'm stoked. That's kind of it on that score. Then, so I should turn on the light. I had the light off so you could see the spark better, and I could see the spark pretty good through the camera, through the phone. So I'm assuming you guys will be able to see it good in the video when I upload it. We'll see. This is the thing I wanted to bring up that just kind of surprised me. Like I said, even on that, spark test, I just assume everybody knows that kind of stuff, and probably most of the stuff I talk about, I kind of assume people know, but then they tell me that they don't. So then I guess it's worth saying. And of course, you guys know me. Like these videos, mostly I just do for my own therapy, for cathartic. So that I just unload the buffer and I feel better because I'm OCD and retentive. So it's just a way to clear the buffer. But sometimes actually people need to know some of this stuff. And what shocked me today, and the whole reason I'm making this video was not for that. That's just a little thing that happened today. But there are multiple guys that fly gassers at my field that aren't aware that these control horns from the manufacturers have come with either multiple sets of holes like these. These have 3 holes laterally or vertically. You know, there's a hole that this is in. It's in the low hole. There's a middle hole, and there's a higher hole for this bolt to go through on both ends. So down there, I have it through the highest hole, which is 3/8 of an inch taller than the low hole. They're 1/8 inch or 3/16 apart each one. And then so I'm 3/8 down to the bottom one. So I have a short one here, and I have a long one down there. Then this happens sometimes through the last 23 years, and sometimes more often than not, the last 10 years, they give you outboards, inboards, and even sometimes for the bigger planes, centers. And they're different heights and different offsets. I just finished the Extreme Flight 104-inch Edge 540, and that one had the offsets accounted for. Now, when I build my own planes, going back 23 years, then I make sure that I've compensated for the offset and I've compensated for the taper of the wing, you know, so that I'm the same height off the hinge line to this pivot point. So center of the hinge line, center of this bolt is the same on all the servos, whether it be 2, 3, or 4. In this case, it's just 2. That, yeah, I have that same distance from the center of this bolt to the center of the hinge line. And then I'm looking for it also to be the same offset, since the bevel is, the wing is thicker here, and the bevel going down, this is going to be wider spread on the edges of these bevels. And down there, since the wing's thinner, then to have the same angle on the bevel, you're going to end up with a smaller bevel to bevel edge, and then it'll get wider as it comes out here. So that's another thing you want to, if you're building a plane, you want to take all these things into consideration. And even if you're building an ARF, you want to try to get all that stuff either perfect or as close as possible so that your servos are synced up. The whole idea is to get your servos synced up to where they're not fighting each other. Even if it's a little, because why not have them completely not fighting each other? And why not, if the manufacturers are giving you good control horns to help you with this, why wouldn't you use them? So they have every plane I've ever had, and that's a lot of manufacturers, a lot of planes, going back to when ARFs were terrible all the way to today. They always provide you with different heights control horns for inboard and outboard. I've never seen a plane that didn't. Because they do the stuff for a living. They're sitting there designing and working with it every day, and they know this basic stuff. And I thought everybody did too, at least even on your first gasser. Kind of thought you knew, certainly by your second gasser, but even in your first one, like your first one, you should be looking. But I know I always say is everybody wants to go fly, so I get it. It's not because you're dumb. You second person plural, not you specifically. It's you want to go fly, you don't have an interest in messing around with these things. Messing around with these things is not going to make you as good as, Jake Arnold. So, as good as Spencer Norquist. So, yeah, so you just lose interest. I get it. But this seems to be pretty basic and definitely something you should know. Like, if you don't know it, like I said, multiple guys, and so far I'm not sure anybody at my field knows this, except Joe McBride, of course, knows all this stuff, and then some. But all the rest of the guys, the consensus I got today was like nobody knows. Like, so they're building these ARFs without knowing this, and they're putting the control horns in randomly, like where they just glue them in, so they could have the inboard and the outboard. They could have 2 inboards on the right wing, 2 outboards on the left, or they could have 2 outboards on the inboards on both wings and 2 inboards on the outboards on both wings. Now that's your worst case scenario, where you have one servo traveling way more than the other servo on an aileron. That's your both are backwards, and you've exacerbated the problem already of the 2 different thicknesses by making them even worse. So then you have your servo, all your servos on their arms are going to travel at one speed. What should we say? 100 miles an hour in a car. They're all traveling 100 miles an hour. Well, one is going a short distance, one's going a long distance. Naturally, the one that's going a long distance is going to take more time to get there. So it's supposed to be synced to the other servo so that they don't fight each other to move the surface or warp the surface, because a lot of the servos are so strong like these that they will warp a surface. They will break servo arms and everything, even more reason to get them synced up. But always, it's just, why not? It doesn't take much more time or any more time, And the manufacturers provide them. They know the situation. So these guys surprised me because they were all shocked. And this is to the man. This is multiple guys in my field, to the man. They were shocked that they control horns themselves in the kit, in the ARF that comes, weren't all the same length. Was shocking to them. Whereas to me, like even on your first one, you should look at the wing, see it's tapered, and you should be shocked if the control horns were the same height. You'd be like, I better compensate for this. I better make my own, or recommend the manufacturer makes them right. And just do take care of this. But to be surprised that they were different heights, I don't even understand that. But I do. Like I said, guys don't have an interest in these things because they want to fly. They either just want to fly for fun and have that success of flying, which is all you need. That's plenty. Or they want to fly like, Antonio de Souza, so then they don't want to be spending time with this crap. But again, that is a basic thing. The manufacturers provide it. It's been this way forever and ever, even before my time. And if you're not aware of it, you should be aware of it. Don't glue these things in anywhere and look for them to be different. If you have a 2-servo aileron or more, look for the control horns to be different. Or you'll be messing up what the manufacturer was trying to do in making your servos synchronized. I know I just mentioned the 104-inch Extreme Flight Edge 540 I just did. They're very close together, so there's not a lot of taper in the wing. So you have to look for it. But the nice thing is it's pretty easy if you know what you're looking for, because the offset's quite a bit. Because the taper is more than the distance, if you follow me. So the height difference is not huge, but the taper is huge between the two. So, the inboard one is a much longer offset to make up for the fact it's much further away from the hinge line. And then the outside one is a much shorter offset because it's much closer to the hinge line. So if you mess that up, thinking that they're all the same on, like, let's say that particular model, it's going to be real bad, so you're going to have all this offset on the inside one, and you're going to have a reverse offset on the outside one. You're going to be over the hinge line. You're actually going to run the horn into the surface of the wing without getting as much travel as you would get. But that's not even what's important, because you could just limit the travel. But what's important is the synchronization between these two servos is going to be way off. So, yeah. That just on my mind, because they were surprised their control horns are different heights on a multiple aileron location aileron, and I'm surprised that they're surprised. So I had to bring that up. This is a trivial little thing, but it may help somebody. And I think I mentioned it a couple times, but they do make testers too that you plug in. But you guys saw that this worked just fine. Sometimes it's harder. You have to get it dark. If you're at the field, it's much harder because you can't hear the click because of the ambient noises of the field, the racket out there, and then the sunlight keeps you from seeing the flash. But if you get a bunch of buddies to come gather around and block the sun, usually that'll take care of things. And then you guys probably know everything I just said anyway. But anyway, the last thing is one of the guys, and I didn't write down his name. I usually write down their name so I could say their name in the video, but he was just on the last couple of videos going, well, I'd like to see how you set these up perfectly with protractors, the paper protractors that you tape on, and you really start to see what's going on with your plane, because you'll find that generally you'll find that they're way off, and you're like, whoa, if you're OCD and perfectionist, and you're like, I don't like that mine are all unsynced and they're all way off, and then you see that, and then you also see how you can make them all perfect and what that takes, and it doesn't take much time. It just takes understanding how to do it and put the tape down the protractor. So I'm gonna make a video for him on that is the plan, but instead of like doing a quickie in the garage with the cell phone one, I just after staying at 700 um, subscribers for the longest time, all of a sudden I just busted through to 1100, and at 1,000 subscribers you get to monetize. So maybe I'll monetize, and maybe I'll make like a good video like Juan Sanchez and at Skybound RC and Don Hamp at RC Air. They take their time. They're actually get cleaned up, shave and shower, and they get in front of the camera, and they have good lighting, and then they do post production, and all that stuff. Have multiple camera angles, and I have all the equipment for all of this, and so I could get now that I have 1,000 subscribers, I can just monetize, and I could make a good video and see how that goes. And it's not much money. Like, even if I get 100,000 subscribers, right now I have one. If I get 100 and everything and do well, I could make like $2,000 a month or something, and that's not enough for any of this. But I do enjoy doing this, not only to clear my head, but I've been doing it for 23. Every time I'm in the hobby, I'm always making instructional videos, so trivia videos, whatever you want to call them. This year has been like audiobooks, but it seems to make me feel better. Everything. So you work so hard to get experience. It's not like this isn't like one of those hobby activity things you can do where you go to one store and everything's available, like golf. There's so many stores that have everything you need and all the instruction you need, and it's right there. This isn't like that. So maybe that has something to do with it, that I like sharing it all, because I had to go through it. Who knows? But I could see, if I do monetize, if I do make a more pro video, and I do get enough views and subscribers, that I did make a couple thousand a month, I could see taking that money and just making the videos nicer, like better studio setup, better lighting, better editing software, and I would just roll it over into that and just keep making it more fun, because you can't do anything with $2,000 a month, and not in SoCal. You might be able to get like a couple hamburgers and a cup of coffee. That's about it. You can't pay no rent. So yeah, that might be a car payment and insurance. That'd be about that. But anyway, that's a long story to say that I will get to the protractor, the paper protractor setup, and how it works, and how it shows you so much for the guy that posted a couple days ago. But I may try to do a better job of it. We'll see how that goes. So that's about it. And yeah, I'm sure everybody knows, but if you don't know, these come different lengths and hopefully different offsets too for the manufacturers, and you should be looking for that. If you don't see that, you should be questioning that, because that's what you want. And the protractor really would have told you, because over here you'd be running at such a different distance on your servo arm than you would out there if you're running the arms opposite, if the control horn's opposite, if you're not putting the control horns in the right places. Yeah, that's about it. So, out.